Tinsley is battling for custody of his 3-year-old son who's being raised by his non-binary mother. His story is just heart-wrenching and yet inspiring as you hear about the courageous and relentless love of a father. Stay tuned. Dr. Jason Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all-natural detoxification from parasitic conditions due to the food we eat, and it fights inflammation, which in turn gives you more energy. I know it did for me. Just go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. Well, Harrison Tinsley, welcome to Moms on a Mission. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So take us back to when your story started with your son Sawyer's mom.
It was over 4 years ago. I was in the Bay Area. I was singing karaoke. I sang his mom a song. I got her number and we started dating and fell in love. And we never agreed politically, but I always thought that we could get past that. And unfortunately, our country's just become so polarized. I'm not sure that's possible anymore. But we loved each other regardless. She has lots of great qualities to her, of course. And she did suffer from some mental illness problems. So it's kind of an up and down relationship. But what ends up happening is she got pregnant pretty shortly into it, just after 4 or 5 months. And we were both stoked on that, which I'm super thankful for. And as her pregnancy went on, I was getting constantly threatened that I wouldn't see my son if I wasn't exactly who she wanted me to be or believe what she wanted me to believe, particularly with politics. She would ask me hypothetically, like, oh, what if our kid was transgender? And I would say I wouldn't affirm a delusion while my kid lives with me. I don't believe in that. And when she first posted to social media that she was pregnant, she said, "Baby Sawyer due in December. I'll love you whether you're a boy or girl or neither," which was kind of terrifying to see. And it ends up that she broke up with me and sent me a cease and desist letter. So I didn't know when my son was born. I found out a week after from social media. One of her friends had reached out and told me. It was devastating, and I figured out what I was going to do, and I filed in the San Francisco court 2 months later, and it took 13 more months just for me to meet Sawyer. So I finally met him when he was 15 months old, which was incredible and magical and just so amazing.
I wanted to go back.
Sure.
So what you're saying is when you dated, you differed politically, but how did those differences work out? Did you just agree to disagree and it was a polite conversation?
More so that we wouldn't talk about it too often. If we did talk about it, she would usually kind of freak out, at least in my opinion.
Then these arguments would just go away. And then when the baby came, or when she became pregnant, then she started using custody as a weapon. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I was getting threatened daily that I wouldn't see my son based on things like that, as well as some other stuff, but a lot of it was political.
So how could she legally write or have written a cease and desist letter when you just disagreed with her politically? How does that work exactly?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but I believe anyone can write a cease and desist letter for any reason at any time.
And so you file that with the court?
The family court has seen the cease and desist letter. I have it still, and they know that happened. It's extremely unfortunate.
Yeah. I guess I just didn't understand that legally you can be barred from having anything to do with your son because you differ politically from the child's mother.
Dads, unfortunately, don't have as much rights as mothers in America right now. And I think that's something we need to work on. I mean, we've seen what fatherless homes do to children and their outcomes in life. And it's a travesty. And I really think moms and dads should have equal rights to children.
Absolutely, especially when both parents, or if one parent is healthy and the other's not. I mean, the child's half yours. There's no way that a mother should have more access than a father just because they believe differently politically. I guess it just amazes me that someone can write a letter and submit it, and all of a sudden your access is denied with no proof of anything.
I concur with you. You know, it's also a situation where I didn't necessarily know what to do at the time when that happened, right? And I've never been in that situation. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but not seeing him for 15 months was like a trials and tribulations that I had to go through to become a better, stronger man. And it's led me to where I am today and made me who I am today, which is a stronger man and a better dad for Sawyer.
Yeah. I mean, talk about using something really hard to build character. I can see how that would work. And I can also see how you wouldn't know what to do with that cease and desist letter. You've never been in that situation before. How would you know what to do? You probably felt like, I'll just comply with this so that, nothing bad happens where I don't lose access to my son when he's born.
Exactly.
So, how did you find out that Sawyer was born?
One of her friends told me on social media.
I cannot even imagine how you felt when you saw that. That must have felt just like a punch in the gut.
Yeah, I mean, it's gut wrenching. It's weird to see like a piece of you out there not even knowing you exist, not being able to see him, hold him, love him. It's a hard thing to deal with for sure. And then how long the court took just to let me even get visitation was absolutely unacceptable.
Is that normal for it to take 15 months like that?
Technically, the court was only 13 months, but I can't say for sure. I think COVID did start around then, so perhaps it took a little longer than normal, but I don't think that's a good excuse.
Well, absolutely not, especially when your child is just born. I mean, so many changes happen right away when a baby is born, and the bonding also occurs so quickly in the beginning. I mean, I can see several reasons why it would be super important for you to see your son as soon as possible.
Yeah, I agree, but fortunately, me and Sawyer are as tight of a parent-kid combo right now as you will ever see in your life. I am not exaggerating. I'm sure it exists, but I have never seen a parent and kid as close as me and him in my own eyes. It's really we have something special, and I'm super thankful. And I spent, now since that happened, I spend all my custody time, which is half the time with him, and I don't work or anything. I spend my time all with him.
I love that. And I believe kids are so resilient that even though you miss that time, that bonding, and especially with you and your intentionality and you're prioritizing your time with him, you can certainly make up for lost time. I mean, you clearly have seen that already.
Yeah, I mean, we're making up for it. We're letting the past go and just focusing on the present and the future. And yeah, I mean, I love being a dad more than anything in the world. It's the most amazing, special, important thing you can do in your life. And I hope everybody gets to experience being a parent because there's nothing like it. I love music and I love sports and I love all these things, but none of it comes close. Being a dad transcends all of it in a way that's indescribable.
Harrison, did you think you would love being a dad so much as you do?
I mean, I always wanted to be a dad and I knew I'd love being a dad, but it still was just, you just can't understand until you are one.
Yeah, it's really mind blowing, isn't it? I've heard people talk about being a parent is like living with your heart on your sleeve. It's outside of your body. And I never really understood that until I had my own. And then I thought, okay, this is all making sense now. It just, you would die for your child, you would do anything to protect them.
Absolutely. No hesitation.
So, when did you meet him?
It was around my birthday and it was 3 years ago, or actually it was more like 2 years ago around my birthday, 2.5 years actually. And so it was in March. I got to meet him. I think it was the day before my birthday. And I had to do it in a supervised capacity, which isn't as fun and happy as it could have been. It wasn't professional. It was just by like her dad. There was actually a lot that happened there during the first supervised visits that was pretty pretty rigid and not fun to deal with. But I was able to look past it and just try to enjoy the time I had with him. I mean, me and him bonded right away. I remember looking in his eyes and we just felt something special, and it was just one of the most incredible days of my life. And no matter how hard they tried to make it, they would have cameras on us illegally, and they her dad one time hid in bushes to try to watch me and my sister and mom with him. Lots of weird stuff. and none of it mattered. Me and Sawyer were bonding, and I got to continue visiting with him without any supervision. And then I moved to the Bay Area, and I was very quickly awarded to half custody, which I'm super thankful for because a lot of dads aren't so lucky.
Was that necessary for you to have custody, was to live within a certain distance?
Yes, the judge had hinted like if the dad moves to one of the 9 Bay Area counties, he'll get more custody. And so that's what I did. And she gave me half right away.
Wow, that's a blessing. I mean, considering it seems like initially things weren't going in your favor. So, what a blessing and how exciting. What was that like when you laid eyes on him? I'm just curious if you can articulate that. What was that like?
There's a moment I'll never forget. His He kind of has green eyes just like mine. So it's interesting to look right in his eyes and just feel miracle frequency all through the air. Just a euphoric, unbelievable feeling that I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, you'll never forget that day as long as you live. I'm certain of that.
Yeah.
So, you received half custody. And then what happened after that?
So it's around the time I received half custody. My son's mom started defaming me pretty heinously, saying unspeakable things about me that weren't true on social media as well as in real life to people. She started to treat my son as non-binary and call him a they, them, put him in dresses and such like that. And that sounds more girly than non-binary to me, but either way, it's unacceptable. I was granted a restraining order on her for her harassment and defamation of me because it was so severe. And she violated that restraining order. There was a lot of different little things that happened, and she was also arrested for child endangerment and placed on a 5150 hold while my son was with her. And
What is that, a 5150 hold?
an involuntary psychiatric commitment.
Okay. So involuntary, that's interesting.
Like the police decided it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she ended up getting let off the charges, but it was San Francisco, and I knew that, you know, family court is a lower burden of proof than criminal, and San Francisco doesn't prosecute a lot of crimes. And I subpoenaed all the body cam footage and everything, and I thought there was enough there that it would terrify any judge or parent. So I was ended up getting granted a 4-day trial that turned into 5 days in family court, which I was grateful for, as a lot of people aren't so lucky to have that much time. It's like a lot of time for the court to give us. So you finally feel like, okay, I'm going to be heard. I'm going to get to say everything and show everything. That's not how it actually worked out because attorneys can be sleazy. So her attorney would object to every single thing me or any witness said, every single, no exaggeration, every sentence. And so I ended up
Yes,
not
and
getting a
can you
lot of
tell me
evidence.
how she can object to, and I didn't see the body cam footage, but
Mm-hmm.
how can you object to factual data like that? It seems so preposterous that it's even possible.
Court's really weird. So you have to have a witness verify things, for one. So the court I think, did accept the footage as as evidence, but if it's like a police officer saying what happened or me saying what's happened, she just objects to what I say and gives a legal reason. And she would often not even know her legal reason. It was pretty embarrassing. And I don't know why the judge didn't immediately overrule it, because that's what normally happens in a court trial when they don't know their objection. But yeah, it was frivolous objections, and I felt good about, regardless of not getting all the evidence in. I thought like I had 850 something pages of evidence, all these things. There was almost none on the other side. Their own witnesses backfired and revealed things on cross examination, such as her lying when my son was born that she had a restraining order against me, which was false. I thought that the court would be more upset about something like that that's so serious and ironic because I had a restraining order on her. But yeah, and the CPS worker who had investigated her, CPS was involved. I think that's an automatic after an arrest like that. I testified on her behalf for some reason. We showed her footage, as you brought up before, where she was literally, we proved to her that she was lied to by the mom. As an example, there was multiple where she thought one thing because that's what she was told and put in her report, and my attorney would say, okay, play video, and would completely dispel what she thought. And then he'd ask her if she felt that she had been misled, and she would say no, even though she literally just told us as a legit example. Yeah, I thought he fell out of his crib. Okay, play video. He falls off of this bed that's held up by chairs, not even on a bed frame, and hits his head. And so my attorney, is that what you were told? Did you know he fell off this bed and not a crib? And she was fine with perjuring herself. I was genuinely shocked.
It is so outstanding in the worst possible way that you can share such factual data about your son being in harm's way and how they can overlook that. And I'm glad that they don't just rip a child from the mother's arms for no reason. But man, when you have
Yeah.
over 800 pages of evidence to suggest and really prove, quite frankly, that this is probably not the best condition for Sawyer right now, it just astounds me how they can turn their eye from that and just act like nothing happened. Was there any follow-up, like restrictions where she was supervised, or Sawyer and her, like?
Oh, no, there was nothing like that at all. The court decided after the trial to keep custody 50-50, and that they declined to rule on gender at all. So that was one of the things I brought up. It was very minor though. Like those other things I mentioned were well above it, because I know it's San Francisco, and also because they are bigger safety concerns. As crazy as the gender stuff is, and I think it's terrible. I mean, arrests and things like that are pretty serious.
Yeah, so
But
talk to me about the gender request you had in that hearing as well. What were you requesting?
on my restraining order, I requested that my son be treated as a boy. That part
And
was denied, but I was granted the protection of the restraining order, generally speaking.
so they were okay with what she was doing by their ruling. They were saying that they were okay with that.
They kind of, yeah, but they didn't say they're for it or anything, to be fair to them. They didn't say they're against me. They didn't say anything like that. They said it's not really their place to rule on.
Which is just interesting because I feel like in a family court, this is just my interpretation. It seems like it would be a little bit more tailored to children and the psychological welfare of their being. And I would think that this would be quite confusing to Sawyer. He's 3.5 now. Is that right?
Yeah, roughly.
Doing this to a child before they really understand these abstract concepts, I think that would be confusing. And I just can't imagine that a family court would be okay with confusing a child, because you're not going to adhere to a delusion, an inflicted delusion, when he's with you. And so they have to know that when Sawyer goes back and forth, this is not in his best interest. Whether you agree with one side or the other, it's not in his best interest for this to be like this.
I agree with you, and I'm thankful that Gavin Newsom vetoed AB 957, where they would have forced all parents to affirm fake gender identities. I think that was an absolute miracle, and I'm so thankful that happened. I don't care whether he's running for president or not. I understand that he's evil, but the fact of the matter is that bill being vetoed saves thousands of kids and families regardless. So
Yes, I
I'm
want to
super
read that real
thankful.
quick from AP. It says California governor vetoes bill requiring custody courts to weigh affirmation of gender identity. California Governor Gavin Newsom has vetoed a bill that would have required judges to consider whether a parent affirms their child's gender identity when making custody and visitations decisions. So this could have absolutely negatively affected you and your custody battle and your legal proceedings. And so what a blessing from God. You're right. We all knew he was going to run for president anyway, but you might as well get a
Yeah,
blessing out of this in the meantime. And I'm so grateful you and I were communicating after this happened and how excited we were, because this is going to help you. But more importantly, this is going to help Sawyer.
right. It's an interesting kind of dichotomy, because I actually spoke to the author of the bill and a bunch of legislators that support it. And I was lobbying, I was always fighting against this bill. That's what I've been doing the last few months, whether it's in interviews or at the Capitol or rallies. And it's first of all incredible to see that pay off. I mean, to actually see local people and all these amazing groups I'm involved with, Freedom Angels and Mom Army and Our Duty and all this stuff. Like, we fought for this and it actually happened. At least we got one win. But it was interesting because I spoke to the author of this bill, as I was saying, and they were actually all under the impression that this bill would give me custody because Sawyer says he's a boy. like adamantly, very adamantly, and I say he's a boy. So his mom, by saying he's non-binary, isn't affirming him. So I was going to use this bill against them to try to get custody myself. However, I'm still, of course, against the bill, and I don't believe that it would have actually worked out that way, but perhaps. But it's just interesting that I would have been the affirming parent in that situation.
That bill would have had incredibly negative ramifications, even outside of this situation, to think that a child can just say something. I mean, the message they're sending, the precedent they're setting is that a child says something, and if the parent doesn't agree with what the child is saying, who they are, or I mean, maybe what they want to do, you know what I mean? You just never know how far something like this is going to go. And when you crack that door open like that, man, that is disturbing on such a deep level.
It's terrifying, and it was so broad too. I mean, it doesn't make sense, first of all, because children that are under 14 can't even testify in court in any capacity. So I have no idea how they were going to actually practically use this. Like, is it just either parent says it? Who's saying it? And what if the parents aren't both saying the same thing? So it made no sense, because at 14, a kid can express which parent they'd prefer to live with. And before that, they won't take any testimony. And I know that for a fact, because besides that being the law, I've had videos of my son that they objected to and wouldn't let be passed as evidence in court because of his age. And yeah, I mean, just thank God this bill was vetoed. And gender ideology is a terrifying thing for children. It's confusing them. They're attacking them when they're most vulnerable. And I think we have the high ground, and that's obvious by him vetoing this. But I'd say just by societal, what is a woman, all these things that are happening, we have the high ground, and we're going to win this battle as long as we keep speaking up and being brave.
Yes, Harrison, I agree with you. And when you look at what's happening, I know we talked about Jessica Tapia prior to recording, but when you look at what she and all of you guys are doing in California with all these school districts and the parental notification bill that's passing, I think she told me the other night it was 8 school districts now who've signed this parental notification bill. And I'm just so excited to see what's happening in California. And I'm just praying that other states will see you all rallying together and standing for truth and seeing victories when we all come together, and not to be paralyzed by fear, but to stand up and protect the children. Because if we don't, who will?
If not you, who? If not now, when? Now's the time. This is the moment in history that we say no more. You're going to either be looked back upon as a coward or one of the brave people that stood up to protect kids. I know where I'm going to be. I'm going to do anything I can to protect kids. And I hope more people will choose that. I know when they watch movies, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, they always say, I'd be a good guy. I'd be Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. It's like you have a literal chance in life right now to be part of the rebellion that stood up to the evil. And I hope people will take that route.
I do too, Harrison. That's so well said. And I just love your heart for children. I love that you are not just doing this for Sawyer, but for all children. And that's what it's going to take, is for us all to band together and lock arms and stand up for the children. And there are more of us than there are of them. And you guys have just proven that so beautifully. So I'm so proud of all of you guys. I did want to ask you, how did you find out that Sawyer's mom was doing this, treating him as non-binary and doing things like this? How did you discover that?
Just her social media posts. My sister was following her and showed me, I believe.
And what was that like? That must have been so horrible, and you must have felt so out of control.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking for sure, but you have to, deal with it somehow and find a way to protect your son.
And how do you do that in the midst of this?
I exercise, I listen to music, I speak to other people in similar situations, I fight for children, I spend time with my son and make sure he knows the truth and reality, and I face it like a man.
I'm proud of you. I think that's great. What does Sawyer say about this confusion and what his mom is thrusting on him?
He always says he's a boy and wants to be a boy, always will be a boy. He knows with 100% accuracy what everybody is, whether it's a TV show or real life, whether they're a boy or girl, he knows. He expresses sadness when she forces him to do things, like when she took him to Disneyland. he told me a couple months later, Dada, when I went to Disneyland, I couldn't go on the rides unless I wore my princess shoes, and I didn't want to wear princess shoes. I wanted to wear boy shoes. And he sounds sad and he's kind of looking down and ashamed. And I think I mean, it's really, it's really tragic, but it clearly he's not into it. And I just don't know how anybody
As
could
are
do that.
most boys and girls, just this whole lie of how prevalent it is, when really what's happening is indoctrination. I mean, these kids, they would never even know about transgenderism, or they wouldn't even know the word non-binary and all, if these kids were not indoctrinated and taught to go down this path.
Without question. It's a societal contagion, and unfortunately, different parents and teachers, etc., are pushing this on kids, and I think it's time to put a stop to it. It's not okay.
Yeah. I believe it's like a religion. It's like a cult, and they're making disciples, and they're actively going out and indoctrinating and teaching kids about this. And kids are vulnerable. I mean, why do you think kids can't get their license till they're 16, or they can't even drive a rental car till they're 21? I mean, there are lots of different rules and laws that are in place because kids' brains aren't fully developed when they're obviously young and supposedly they're making these decisions. And I mean, it's clear that there's an agenda behind all this. And I believe it's a religion, and that they are trying to convert these children.
It is like a religion, and it's also like child sacrifice, which so many societies have done throughout history, and we look back upon as a terrible, terrible evil and think that we are so much better than, except now that we're doing it ourselves all of a sudden. You don't affirm your kid if they say they're a pirate. You don't chop off their leg and poke their eye out. You don't let them, if they say they're Spider-Man, go on, try to swing off of high buildings. Like, go ahead and jump. You'd never do that. If your kid was anorexic, you wouldn't tell them, oh yeah, you look fat, you should skip dinner tonight, when they're all skinny. Like, you would never ever do that. But for some reason, in this one particular instance, people are going along with this, and it's literally insanity, and it needs to stop now. Children are not able to consent to life altering hormones and procedures. Look at all the detransitioners. This is unacceptable. You're mutilating children. I know it's going to be really hard to get parents to accept when they've done this to their own child, because it must be very hard to accept, that you did something so terrible to your own child. But that's the reality of life, is that this is unacceptable, and it's stopping now.
Yes. And I just want to say that real love tells the truth. And just like your examples that you gave, I mean, you would never do any of those things. You would lovingly speak the truth to your child, and you would get help for them. You wouldn't implement a surgical solution for a psychological problem. And the number of children who experience gender dysphoria is quite small. I don't know the exact number, but I do know statistically it's quite small. So it is so saddening and disturbing and angering to see what they've been able to get away with so far. Where are you now, Harrison, with all of this? So you pushed back, and then they decided to give you each half custody. So where are you today with everything?
I'm appealing the court's decision that starts very soon. I also have a couple other avenues that I'm not privy to speak on right now that are happening, but I'm feel confident about the appeal. I do believe that some case law was not followed during our trial, and I think I have a good chance of winning at least some of that, and I'm excited for that. And other than that, I'm just speaking out as much as I can, everywhere I can, to protect kids. And to your point, it's not loving to affirm a delusion. Truth is love. It's loving no matter if it's hard or not to tell somebody the truth. And everyone knows that deep down. Like, everybody knows that. And it's time to start speaking the truth.
Yes, I agree with that. Well, now in this next level of court proceedings, you said it is a little bit more inclusive, and they look more seriously at this data compared to the family court?
Well, I'm actually not too familiar with the process. It's my understanding that they more look at the legality of everything, and if proper court procedure was followed and case law was followed, etc. They don't too much go too deep into the evidence, although they do get to see it all if they choose. And we did give all of it to them. Um, I don't know Apparently it's, not the best odds, but I never let the odds stop me in life. I'm going to do the right thing regardless of how hard it is or what the odds are.
Yeah, because Sawyer's life is at stake and thousands of other children's lives are at stake. And we at Moms on a Mission are so grateful for you for standing up and standing up for truth. And even if you have to stand alone, standing for truth is still the right thing to do. And so thank you so much. I hope after you go through this, you'll come back on and update us as to where everything is. And honestly, when you said you don't adhere to the odds, you just stand for truth. If we would have talked a few months ago, I bet you would have never imagined that Governor Newsom would have vetoed that bill. I mean, what are the odds there? We would have never anticipated that.
Absolutely not.
I believe in the word of God, and I believe with the Bible says with God, all things are possible. And I believe that for Sawyer's sake and for all the children's sake, that it is possible. And I just pray that folks and parents will follow your amazing example and stand up and stand for truth, even when it's hard, and to never quit.
Absolutely. Everybody needs to be brave, speak the truth. It's time to protect kids. You don't want to live your life as a coward. You don't want to live your life and look back and wish you could have done something or be a part of something. This is your chance. Children deserve protection.
Yes. Well, how can we support you and how can we follow you?
I'm Harrison Tinsley on all social media. I appreciate everyone who reaches out to me. I have a Give, Send, Go for attorney's fees, and that's Give, Send, Go Saving Sawyer. And thank you everyone who's ever supported me and believed in me. I will not let you down, and I will not let my son down.
Thank you, Harrison. And we will put those links at the bottom of our content description so people can give to you. And folks, let's do that. I mean, at the very minimum, we could just, if we all gave $5, if we all did something, I know that would be a blessing for Harrison's legal bills. And definitely we can all pray for him and connect with him and send him encouraging words. Because can you imagine if this were your child and you were in the fight of your life? I mean, that would be absolutely horrific. So let's get behind him and pray for him and give what we can. And again, that link will be in the content description at the bottom of that. So Harrison, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for what you're doing for all children in America. And we pray God's blessing on you and Sawyer.
Thank you. God bless you.
God bless you. And thank you all so much for listening. Email us as always at moms@momsonamission.net. That's moms@momsonamission.net. And you can check us out on our website at momsonamission.net. And we'd love for you to please follow us on your favorite platform and share the episodes with your friends and family. We'd be so honored. And so thank you so much for listening, and God bless. In light of recent bank volatility and skyrocketing inflation, diversification is a must. That's why I use my good friend Andrew Sorcini at Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Beverly Hills Precious Metals makes it so easy to diversify. I personally ordered some silver and it arrived on my doorstep just a few days later. They make it so easy. And if you're not ready to do that and you just want to ask a few questions, they're there for you too. I personally got some silver and also am rolling over some of my IRA. You can actually roll over your IRA and have it be backed by silver and gold. So if you don't have any extra money to invest in silver and gold, rolling over a 401k or an IRA, or even part of it, if you just want to try it at first, just for a little bit, you can do that as well. So go to bh-pm.com today and ask all your questions. You can connect with somebody. And like I said, you can just get some information at first if you want and pray about it, and then get back with them to roll over part of your IRA or all of it, or order some gold and silver. That's bh-pm.com. and tell them that Moms on a Mission sent you. Hey, everybody. Did you know that recent research from the CDC says that millions of Americans develop parasitic infections and symptoms often go unnoticed or are misdiagnosed? Parasites are actually the cause of many health problems such as anxiety, depression, chronic pain, fatigue, and unexplained digestive issues. We all need a common sense strategy to improve our health. Moms on a Mission encourages you to reach out to our good friend, Dr. Jason Dean. Dr. Dean's Full Moon Protocol provides all natural detoxification and fights inflammation. And the supplements are made with 100% organic ingredients and are proven to kill parasites safely and effectively. I know after I took Full Moon Protocol, I had more energy. To order your full moon protocol today, go to bravetv.store/mission to save $20 off your first order. That's bravetv.store/mission. According to leading sleep experts and sleephealth.org, over 50 million Americans struggle getting a good night's rest. That's why Moms on a Mission loves MyPillow. MyPillow makes amazing pillows, sheets, mattress toppers, robes, towels, literally almost everything you need for a good night's sleep. They also make dog beds for your dogs. So by going to mypillow.com, typing in the code MISSION, you not only receive a high quality product, but you're supporting Moms on a Mission and this podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you agree with it, you believe in it, and you want to support Moms on a Mission, then go to mypillow.com today and order some high quality products and just type in the code MISSION at checkout and you can save up to 66% off. That's mypillow.com, code MISSION.
Since 2014, Organic Body Essentials has offered clean, simple, certified organic skincare. Our organic face-to-feet and federally compliant hemp and pet products are manufactured under USDA and FDA guidelines. Our products are inspired by God using plants He created. In Ezekiel 47:12, it says, "The fruit is for food and the leaves for healing." We believe in the power of God to heal, so we pray over our products and for our customers. Our therapy in a bottle approach has been widely received, and our customers' testimonials continue to inspire us. You can find us at organicbodyessentials.com and obe.organicbodyessentials.com. Please feel welcome to reach out with questions. Use coupon code MISSION at checkout for a discount. Thank you for your support by using MISSION at checkout to benefit Moms on a Mission and their quest to reestablish traditional values in our education system and empowerment for a healthy lifestyle.